Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mobile Mabaso. For those of you who don't know me, if you're new here, welcome. Before I even go anywhere, I actually just realized that more than 40% of the people that watch my channel are not subscribed. So I'm really just pleading to all of you guys to please subscribe. I really just want to make this channel grow, and I need you guys' assistance in that. I have so much in store for you. I have so much of knowledge and experience and perceptions and views and stuff to share with you guys, but in order for me to be able to do that, I really would like it and appreciate it if you help me grow my YouTube channel. So yeah, I do trust that all of you guys are well and great, and I also hope that you guys are going to benefit from what I have in store for you for today. Once again, don't forget to comment, subscribe, like, share, and do the most. So what I want to speak about today is something that I somewhat struggled with, or it's a concept that I grasped English, that I grasped quite late in my life, that I actually only got to understand during my year of study, during my first year of study as a psychologist. So I'm hoping that it will speak to most of you guys, because like I'm saying, it is something that I struggled with for a while, and that is depression. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I come from a predominantly black environment where things like depression and mental illness are sort of like a new thing to us. I'm not saying new in the sense of like it's the first time that people are actually starting to experience these things, but like new in the sense that it's only now that people are actually starting to understand that, okay, if I'm feeling like this is what this means. If I just lost a loved one and I feel like this for a particular number of weeks, then I'm going through grief. If I'm feeling like this, then it's a trauma response to something, like post-traumatic trauma responses to different things and stuff like that. So it's new in my contextual background in that sense, in the sense that people can actually now come up and say, hey, I'm feeling like this and like this and like this and like this, and this means that I am therefore depressed. So it being a new concept and it being something that I learned or that I understood so late in my life as well, I actually got to realize that a lot of people don't actually know what being depressed really is, and that it's just one of those terms, one of those diagnoses that are used very lightly, if I may put it in that way, because I can't find a better word. So like, you're feeling a bit sad, someone says, oh, you're depressed. Guys, being sad is not depression. Being anxious is not depression. Being exhausted is not depression. As a matter of fact, depression is indeed a psychological mood disorder. Okay, so there may, as much as there may be similarities between what depression is and like stuff like being sad and being anxious and being tired, but it's not, just because you're sad or you're anxious or you're exhausted and stuff like that does not necessarily mean that you're depressed. It's actually it's actually one of the most common psychological disorders that are found across different cultures, races, countries, and stuff like that. So there are similarities, and there are certain traits that overlap with being sad, that account for being depressed, but it's not necessarily the same thing. So I'm going to try break that down for you today, and also just try and share how my experience of what my first experience or encounter with depression and how it was like and how I got help. And I'm also just hoping that will speak to somebody else who's sitting there, I'm not sure why they're feeling the way that they're feeling, and I'm not sure what is it that's actually happening to them. Okay, so I'm going to read the diagnosis of depression from the DSM-5 summary. So a DSM-5 is sort of like a toolbook that we use in psychology to diagnose stuff and to understand certain disorders and their causes and etiologies and stuff like that. Okay, so this is the summary. So so before I even go there's two types of depression as well. So I'm going to first just try and give you guys the criteria for a major depressive disorder and for a persistent depressive disorder, and you guys are going to see the differences between those two as well. Okay, so a major depressive disorder is when you have the following symptoms for at least 2 weeks. So that is sadness, anhedonia, which basically means that you are not enjoying things that you usually used to enjoy. A loss of interest, feelings of guilt or worthlessness, a loss of energy, either hypersomnia, insomnia, oversleeping or undersleeping, concentration loss, some impairments in your cognition, appetite changes, either you overeat or you undereat. I was the undereater, depressed person, psychomotor agitation or retardation, sleep changes, and suicidal thoughts. Okay, so for a major depressive disorder, you have to have these symptoms for at least 2 weeks. Okay, and then so you could either have a major depressive disorder in either mild, moderate, or severe, or in a psychotic state. So a psychotic state would mean that you're also having probably hallucinations, delusions, and stuff like that, right? And then for a persistent depressive disorder, which is normally referred to as dysthymia, you would experience symptoms such as being sad most days for 2 years. So remember the MDD, the major depressive disorder, is 2 weeks, and the persistent one is having shorter periods of the MDD, but for a prolonged period of time. So you're in and out of depression for 2 years. Okay, so that would include having 2 or more symptoms of sleep changings, again, hypersomnia, insomnia, hopelessness, appetite changes, low self-esteem, concentration loss, and stuff like that. And for a persistent depressive disorder, it means that you are never symptom-free you're never 2 months symptom-free in the first 2 years of you having the disorder. And there's also a significant distress or impairment in certain levels of functioning. So probably impairments in your cognition again, impairments in your relation with other people, and impairments in your view of yourself and view of the world and stuff like that. Okay, so those are the 2 clinical those are the 2 clinical criteria for the 2 types of depression. So if you have anything other than that, so if you're just feeling sad, or if you're just feeling tired, and if you're just feeling anxious, then you are feeling sad, or you have a symptom of, not necessarily a symptom of depression, but you can have traits of it, but find that your symptoms put together don't necessarily fulfill or don't necessarily meet the full criteria for a depressive disorder. Okay, so like I said, the reason why I'm choosing to make this video is because I only got to really understand this in my first year of study. Okay, and I remember when I first, because it's different. I don't know about you guys, but I was a crammer in varsity, so it's different when you actually go, when you actually get taught something that you're oh crap, I actually identify with that. I think I've been in a stage in my life where I actually identified with that. And I remember that with me, I had what I like to call high functioning depression, because I was feeling a lot of depressive traits, or had a lot of symptoms for a depressive disorder, but it was not necessarily impairing my everyday sort of life. So it's not a formal high functioning depression is not a formal diagnosis per se, but it's what I like to like to use to sort of describe what I was feeling. For instance, I'd still be able to go to class. I still drag myself to lectures. I still drag myself to the gym. I'd still drag myself to meetings with friends. But it's what would happen in between those moments that would really get to me. So for instance, nobody knew. I was living in a flat with 4 girls, and nobody knew how much I was sleeping. So I legit dreaded getting out of bed. I remember I just had this intense period. It wasn't even a long, it wasn't necessarily a long term thing, like persistent depressive disorder, but it was more like a short term, like probably like 2 weeks, couple of weeks type of vibe, where I struggled to get out of bed, where I struggled to eat, where my self-esteem was low, where I did not enjoy being around people, where I did not enjoy doing any of the things that I would have normally enjoyed doing. But because I would still show up to things that I had to show up in, nobody knew. So I went through a long period of my life having what I call high functioning depression, and nobody knew. I'd still call home, I'd still call my mom, I'd still call friends, I'd still be there for people, like if anybody needed anything, if anybody, I'd still show up, even though I knew that my level of showing up was not the same as, how I used to show up prior to that. But I'd still do the stuff that I had to do. I'd still drag myself to things. I'd still drag myself out of bed, sometimes. But it was really a dark, toxic place that I could not have been able to drag myself out of had I not received help. So I think at the end of it all, like, I'm sharing all of this information for you guys because you don't know what is it that you're going through out there, and not everybody has the ability to be able to pull themselves out of toxic places, because it's not just a thing of you pulling yourself out of a toxic place when you're going through something, but like there are people who constantly have to draw themselves out of dark spaces every single day. Like for me, it had to be a conscious choice that I had to make some days, and it was not always an easy thing for me to do. I lost weight. My cognitive functioning declined. Like I was not able to concentrate and focus as much as I was. Friends didn't understand what I was going through. I remember I even went through what I call the closed curtains phase, where like I'd literally close. So my window was facing sort of like a main road type of vibe. So people would know whenever I'm in or out of the house, depending on whether like my curtains are closed and the lights are on or off and stuff like that. So I would literally live with my curtains closed for like the longest time, and like nobody knew. My housemates didn't know, my family didn't know, and stuff like that, and until I got to have a clearer understanding of what is it that I was experiencing, and realized that I actually needed to get help. Okay, so I'm sharing this with you guys again, like I've said, because I really, my heart for this channel has always been to break the stigma around mental health in the African context. And I'm talking about the African context specifically because these things are not things that we are taught when we grow, when we're being raised. Like, you're feeling some type of way, and you'd be taken to a pastor to like pray it off, or you'd be told to sleep it off, and stuff like that. So we only now are learning how to manage our emotions and how to manage our mental health, but we don't necessarily have the tools to do that because we're not raised up in environments that normalize mental health awareness and stuff like that. So I'm sharing this so that if there's somebody out there who knows of somebody who might be going through a similar experience, or who might be meeting the criteria for a depressive disorder, get help. There's nothing wrong with that. There are resources out there. There are places out there. If you're not sure, drop a comment. Follow me on social media. I'll put my what's it called, man? The social media thing. I'll put that somewhere there or whatever it is. But DM me, like send a message. Let's all help each other. I don't have all the tools or all the knowledge, but with what I do have and with what I do know, I am willing to share with you guys. So let's break the stigma. And each one help one. Let's all pull each other out, and let's try and leave a good foundation, or let's try and leave a good environment for our children and for our children's children. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for watching my video. I will see you guys again next week Friday. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, refer a friend, do the most. Stay blessed, stay safe, and remember, each one help one. It is your responsibility, and it all starts with you. Thank you. Thank you.